guys, Sean here at K2 Trades. Today I'm going to be going over the K2 Pivot Scalp strategy, and this can be applied on the 5-minute, 10-minute, and 15-minute time frame. There's no specific time frame that I highly recommend using this strategy. However, if you're trading on the 5-minute, you're obviously going to have more trade opportunities in comparison to trading on the 15-minute. But if you're trading on the higher time frame, you're going to have higher quality entries with higher accuracy. So it's really up to you by personal preference, depending on your scalping personality, if you want to go for the more entries for smaller moves, or if you want to go for less entries for longer moves but higher accuracy. So it's really going to depend on you as a scalper, how you trade. Everyone trades a little differently, so you can keep that up to your own preference. For myself, I usually use the 10-minute, which gives me the best of both worlds. It gives me a decent amount of entries, plus it gives me a decent amount of accuracy. So for this video, I'm going to be using the 10-minute time frame. So let's get started. The first requirement requires that you identify a strong trend. Next, you're going to have to identify a retracement and rejection off the K2 pivot zones. And lastly, you're going to identify a valid K2 momentum signal. Once these three requirements have been met, you can enter on the open of the following candle. So let's get started. The first requirement requires that you identify a strong trend. In order to do that, you're going to use the K2 pivots indicator, and you're going to make sure that the K2 pivots are angling in the same direction and that they're pretty spread out like they are right here. You can see level 1, level 2, level 3, and level 4. As you can see, when that happens, price generally trends down for a pretty long time. In comparison to right here, the pivots are kind of jumbled around, they're not angled in the same direction, and they're not spread out like they are right here or right here. You can see that price was basically consolidating for this time period, but as you can see right here, when they spread out and angle in the same direction, it trends up pretty nice. Similar right here, as it angles out to the bottom and it's spread out, it pretty much trends down pretty nicely as well. So let's use this for an example. Right here, we have a strong downtrend, obviously. So our first requirement has been met. Next up, we're going to identify a retracement and rejection off the K2 pivot. So let's look for a rejection and retracement going down this direction. So right here, price goes down, comes up, rejects downwards, comes up right here as well, and we have an invalid buy signal right here. So as you can see, price came down right here, retraced up in this direction, and then rejected off the level 2 K2 pivot right here. So this would be here I'll zoom in so you guys can see better. Let me show you guys again. So right here, price came down, came up, came down, came up right here for a retracement, and it rejected off the level 2 right here. So in this situation right here, we've met the first two requirements. We've identified a strong trend downwards, we've identified a retracement upwards, and we've identified a rejection off the K2 pivot right here. Lastly, we want to identify a valid K2 momentum signal. So as you can see right here, this would be a valid sell signal because it's a sell signal with a red bearish candle. Right here, this would be a valid buy signal because it's a green buy signal with a green bullish candle. This would be an example of an invalid momentum signal. This is invalid because it's a buy signal with a red bearish candle, so they're going the opposite directions. Obviously, that would be invalid. But right here, this would be valid because we have a sell signal with a red bearish candle. So in the situation right here, we've met all three requirements. For one, we've identified a strong trend downwards. For two, we've identified a retracement and rejection off the K2 pivot right over here. Price retraced up and rejected off level 2. Lastly, we've identified a K2 momentum signal. So as you can see right here, we have a valid entry. We can enter on the open of the following candle. So let's put a short position right here. And there's three places where you can put your stop loss. So your stop loss would either be at the previous swing right here, or it can be at the two last K2 pivot levels. So this would be level 3 right here. You can put it right here, or you can put it up here to level 4. When you're scalping, you kind of need some cushion because price is going to be bouncing around. So instead of putting it at the swing, because the swing is a little too close, I'm going to put it at level 3 up here. So as you can see right there, it's about, we'll just round it to like 1,500 pips. You don't need to round it, but I'm just using whole numbers so it's easier to see. And obviously right here, it came straight down and hit profit target. So as you can see, it's pretty simple. There goes one trade right there. What we can do now is I'll rewind it so that we can look for another entry. Okay, so let me put this right here just so you guys can see all of the requirements, and then let's play it forward. All right, so for one, we're identifying a strong trend. Right here we can see the K2 pivots are angling down and they're pretty spread out. We have level 1, level 2, level 3, and level 4. So we've already identified a strong trend downwards. Next, we want to identify a retracement and rejection off a K2 pivot. So let's move forward. You can see right here, we have small retracements and rejections. Prices coming down, comes up. As a retracement, rejects, comes back down. But the problem with that is that we don't have a valid K2 momentum signal. So when that doesn't happen, there's no entry. So let's keep watching. It comes down, retraces up this way, and then let's see if there's a rejection. There's no rejection. So in this situation right here, we need a rejection off the K2 pivot zones. Prices already broke above the zones over here. So right here, this is no man's land. Pretty much once price passes the last pivot, that resets. You're going to have to start all over again. We're going to have to now identify a strong trend downwards again before we can look for another entry. So let's keep watching here. You can see right here, okay, so this is going to be a little iffy because actually, no, we're gonna ignore that because there was no retracement. This retracement went too far. Technically, you could have taken this trade, but I'm not going to take it because that's too risky of a trade for me. All the requirements aren't 100%, even though it would be a good entry. So let's keep moving forward. Look for another one. Okay, so first requirement, identify a strong trend. Again, right here, we see that all the K2 pivots are angling downwards, and they're pretty spread out. We have level 1, level 2, level 3, and level 4. So we've identified a strong trend downwards. Next, we want to identify a retracement and rejection off the K2 pivot zone. Let's move forward. So since we have requirement 1, we're looking for requirement 2 now. All right, you can see right here, price was coming down, right? So right here, you can see that the K2 pivots are still angling down and spread out. So it's still in a strong trend downwards. Next, we want to identify a retracement and rejection off the K2 pivot. So price came down, retraced up in this direction, and then rejected 1, 2, 3 times off level 2 right here. Lastly, we need to identify a valid K2 momentum signal downward since we're looking for a sell. There we go, we have a sell right there. So all 3 requirements have been met. We've identified a strong trend downwards by looking at the K2 pivots. We've identified a rejection, retracement and rejection off the K2 pivots right here. And lastly, we've identified a valid K2 momentum signal right here. So we can enter on the open of the following candle. Let's enter a short position right here. Like I said earlier, you can place your stop loss at the previous swing, which would be right here. This is actually pretty decent because it's over 1,500 pips. If it's over 1,500 pips, that's usually a pretty good sweet spot to enter a scalp. If you're familiar with the other K2 scalping strategy or the daily US 30 strategy that I use, I trade on the 10-minute and the 1,500 pip mark is my benchmark. So right here, we can place a stop loss right there at about 1623. But like I said, you can always move it to level 3 or level 4, just depending on your risk. But as you can see right here, this is a pretty far move, 2,829 pips. That's kind of risky for a scalp move. So I'm gonna leave it right there at the previous swing, and then let's let it play through. And there you go, guys. Profit target, easy as that. 2 back-to-back wins right there. 1 win for 1,623 pips, and then right here for 1,500 pips. So you would have made very nice wins pretty easily just using this pretty basic strategy. But yeah, guys, hope that helps. If you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out. I'll try to make some other videos helping with explanations. Otherwise, you guys can reach out to me or anyone else on the K2 team. All right, guys, thanks.
K2, yeah, we headed for the top now. K2, yeah, we call it when it drop down.